everyone. Welcome to the Bio Breakthroughs podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Simon Arkell, the co-founder and CEO at Synthetica Bio. Simon, how are you?
Good, Jared. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. Let's dive right in. Tell the audience a little bit about your background and how it led you to becoming the CEO at Synthetica.
Yeah, so I'm an Australian by upbringing, have been in the US for a few decades here, came over on an athletic scholarship to college many years ago and kind of stayed, but have been basically a serial entrepreneur until since the 90s. And so my first venture capital-backed company was in the late 90s during the good old days of the dot-com boom. Fast forward to a couple of companies ago, a company called Prediction Software, which was a predictive analytics platform software company. We did early kind of machine learning and democratizing what was then a really complex thing for the PhDs only. So tried to simplify machine learning. We focused in on patient risk analytics and sold that into the provider industry. Then I was lucky enough to start a company with an old customer of mine, and that company was DeepLens. And we focused on a cloud-based artificial intelligence platform that took all of the many silos of oncology-specific patient data, from pathology reports to medical records, and then ingesting those real-time genomics report feeds from the reference labs like the Caris and Foundation Medicines of the world. And we did that, put it together in a common data model, and we matched patients to clinical trials in precision oncology in real time. And it worked pretty well. We ended up deploying that to over 250 locations around the US. We were monetizing that by having the biopharma companies pay us to get access to the insights into where the patients were, so that we could help them not only match the patients in a pre-screening process, but get them ultimately consented and enrolled onto clinical trials. And we did that pretty successfully. We found really difficult to find cancer patients in the community. And I'm pretty sure that we enrolled a number of them on clinical trials that they never would have found or had access to if it weren't for us. About a year ago, we sold that company very successfully to Paradigm in New York. And a few months later, after taking a bit of time off, I started this company, Synthetica, with some very smart partners who really knew this space cold. And we all realized at the very same time that there was something changing in the industry with regard to technology, and how that could be applied to biopharma was pretty exciting to us.
And let's dive in, right? So in terms of, and thank you so much for the background, and congratulations on all your success thus far.
Thanks.
And it's so funny too, when people talk about moving on to the next thing as entrepreneurs, it's always like never major time. It's like took a little time and I'm ready to get back into it. So it's nice to know that you have that same mindset.
Yeah, I don't know. People always talk about retirement. I don't even know what that means. My mentor is 82 and he's busier than I'll ever be. He's got 5 companies he's juggling all at once, and it's amazing. I just love the energy, and I think people consider startups to be their canvas for creativity. And it's a great way to interact socially with like-minded people, smart people. So it's just something that I think you miss when you're not doing it anymore.
100%. Yeah, there's an addicting factor to it too. One of the good things you can be addicted to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because you're right. It does. Yeah.
Better than drugs.
In terms, way better. In terms of the purpose of Synthetica Bio's like generative AI platform, for instance, Can you talk us through how you envision it'll benefit the biopharma industry?
Yeah, well, the original idea came from, this is not a brand new idea. There are a number of companies working on what is next for technologies like ChatGPT. I think the kind of the world exploded with creativity when ChatGPT hit the mainstream about 7 or 8 months ago, and it just was incredibly exciting to see what was possible now from the generative aspects, as opposed to, my history with my last couple of companies has all been about, taking a ton of data, a lot of smart people, and then spending months and months building technology, but also predictive models or machine learning models or natural language processing based models that after many months of development, you come out with one model for one thing, and it might be quite accurate, but it only does that very one thing. And generative AI really had us believe that if you could, in a very unsupervised way, look across huge amounts of data and then ask questions of that data, interact, have a relationship with that data, you're going to iterate your way to the solution, the insights that you want. But the problem with ChatGPT, which I think we all understand, is that you cannot paste your company's secrets into a chat box that, basically OpenAI is going to get and have its public domain at that point. And so there was the need for an enterprise version of this. But we realized that, a generative platform model, large language model or LLM like ChatGPT or Bard, is very good at being very broad, but quite shallow. In fact, ChatGPT ends in 2021, so it's not even very recent. And so, is there an opportunity to create an enterprise version of this where an enterprise, a company, can have their own proprietary data in a secure environment? But more importantly, that it's very knowledgeable about this biopharma industry, which is very specific, especially in precision medicine, where you have, genomics and tons of publications to support specific outcomes, and you could run different experiments with that data if the platform knows a lot about the industry. But if it doesn't, it's not going to be very useful. So we envisage a platform that can not be one LLM, but go across multiple industry-specific LLMs against a huge amount of data that we are bringing to have a much more intelligent platform. And then the ability to store and save and manage these vector databases that are very specific to generative AI. It's a brand new thing, and a lot of companies will not have the time or resources to be able to create really good generative AI applications on their own with just the building blocks from Amazon or Microsoft.
You touched upon this a little bit, Simon, already, but in terms of the platform you have, as it relates to addressing the challenges faced by these biopharma companies in terms of data analysis, I know you mentioned it being, those other platforms are too broad. They're not focused on, your data. You're giving them your data right now. You're changing that. But in terms of, let's talk more about the data analysis piece and the challenges that these biopharma companies face and how you're addressing those today.
Yeah, it comes from a lot of our own personal experiences, in fact, because at my last company, DeepLens, we were a team of I wasn't an engineer, but we had a great team of engineers and bioinformaticists and data people. And we were still spending a ton of time after bringing together the different modalities of data, that pathology, the medical records, even image data, and then of course the genomics data. But there were still silos. We had it in a data lake, but the analysis was difficult. It took a long time to really find out, hey, how many patients are in our database that have a specific mutation type, that are in a certain geography, that have not had surgery yet, et cetera, to conform to the protocol of a clinical trial. And we were one of the best. We were a software company that did data for a living. So the problem that the industry is facing and is going to continue to face is that there is just this massive sea change in not only the volume of data, but also the velocity of data. We have a data feed and access to a specific data pool to train our platform that has years of longitudinal lab data on 2/3 of the US population, but that's growing by 500 million results per month. So you need to be able to deal with data at rest and then normalize that. You need to be able to deal with streaming data. But more importantly, we have to change the paradigm such that these biopharma clients are not having to rely on teams of PhDs who can go and spend 3 months building some supervised machine learning model, coming back with one answer to one question, and that's all it does. It's a massive bottleneck. Instead, the head of ClinOps, these analysts, they want to be able to just interact with the data that's not only their own enterprise data, but also mashes up public source data to get those insights. And those insights could be based on commercial targeting. Hey, how do I find the physicians who are treating the patients that are at risk of progression from stage 2 to stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer, but also have the KRAS mutation. It's like that sort of complexity could take months to fall into a black hole for a team of smart people to come back and maybe answer that question. But if you could do that in real time and continue to iterate with that data, then we think there's a huge unlock in terms of value, especially for those companies that have a huge upside to getting those answers, but don't necessarily have a big team of PhDs that are out there doing the data science and the AI for them.
And when you talk about differentiation, right? How do you plan to differentiate, yourself from the other generative AI healthcare data platforms that are present in the industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the challenge for anyone in this industry, whether they're a potential customer and user of the technology or a vendor building something, is that it is moving incredibly quickly. You've seen that there are some companies out there getting large amount of funding or have received funding to build one large language model, as an example, for the industry. Maybe that's the healthcare LLM. But the problem with that is that the tech is moving so quickly, such that now you don't need as much data to train an LLM as you may have just 6 months ago. And these things are being optimized, and there's this leapfrogging happening in terms of immediate disruption and obsolescence. So we made a decision, having started companies before that became obsolete or obsoleted others. You see how quickly this can move. It became pretty important for us not to do anything too proprietary, but to use the skill sets of the team members such that we could create a real-time streaming cloud-based microservices architecture. But more importantly, that we could slot in the best of breed technologies for generative AI and then provide an orchestration layer, both on top of some open source initiatives like a LangChain, but also our own enterprise orchestration. And now whenever there's a request from one of the users, it's coordinating and orchestrating between the best of breed LLMs, which we can slot in and slot out if they become obsolete or the next best thing. So we think that being a platform that is highly secure allows customers to bring their own data, benefit from other data and other learnings that we've had from our own data, and then solve those problems in a secure manner, but do it very dynamically across best of breed technologies. That's the way to not become obsolete and to still move very quickly.
And in terms of what's next for the company, what's really exciting you that you can share with us here today in terms of what's next?
Yeah, well, it's an early stage company. We're working with some great partners, early customers already. We're at revenue already. We have data partnerships that give us this huge head start with, again, over 220 million patient lives in a database that's tuning this particular platform of ours. And so we're in the building phase right now. We just kicked the company off officially a month or so ago. We raised a venture capital round, and we have some great VCs behind us who really saw the benefit of what we're doing and the opportunity for what we're doing after looking at a lot of generative AI biopharma plays. They chose us because I think we have a very good strategy and plan, but we were also not 22-year-olds that just came out of college with smart tech idea. We realized that and they realized that we needed to know the industry, know the players, be able to fast track to the C-suite at customers and partner opportunities. And, we've done this before, failed many, many times between us and had some successes. And I think we're a little bit, less dumb every time we start a company. And so we have this huge opportunity to now really start building that we've raised our first venture round. And then get to the point, by the end of the year where we're really, live with a platform that's getting a lot of momentum and a lot of new customers. But there is no shortage of customer demand out there. We just have to make sure that we're working with the right partners that can take us to the next level. The investors that backed us are Virtue, AIX, Page One, another that I can't mention, and they are all extremely excited about, us getting to the next level, raising a more substantial round, but really getting out there and converting a lot of biotech and pharma and CRO customers and partnerships through other data and software companies. So there's a lot of activity in the industry right now, as you probably know, and we're definitely in the trenches on a day-to-day basis, having really great conversations and closing real deals with real customers.
Well, Simon, I wish you and the team all the best of luck, and I can't wait to already have you come back on again in the near future, and we can dive into some more stuff. But again, really appreciate you being on the show here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.